Okay, my dear student friends, this is a wonderful opportunity for you to get some idea about water technology. Myself, Dr. K.K. Shivakumar, here in Amity University, I am functioning as the associate professor and head of the department. So again, I am welcome you to this opportunity you are getting in this topic. Let's move to what is the content specifically. Let's see. Okay, our objective of the program, this session is mainly the interaction or the relation between the water chemistry and the industry. So water chemistry, which is functioning very important role in industries, which is giving, once you know the water chemistry, you will be thorough in your academic field also. Once your academic field is fulfilling your requirement, automatically your industry field is fulfilled. So industry needs a lot of experts, particularly from the engineering side. We need the expertized engineers, those who needs strong in water chemistry also. Not only in your functional area, apart from that, we need more confidence in the water chemistry also. Water chemistry plays excellent role in industries. Say it starts from the processing purpose, industrial application purpose, cooling purpose, then in the boilers, likewise it is having many roles. So let's see the another slides. Elaborately what we are going to see is that water and its impurities, we are going to talk about this. Secondly, industrial requirement, say in the process side or in the boiler side or in the cooling tower operation side or in the coolant side, whatever the case. Boiler feed water, what is the requirement, what is the specific requirements of boiler feed water. Then problems, if you use untreated water or the hot water, what are all the problems we are going to face with the boilers, that is also functioning well. Then external treatment, if you have the problems, what are the treatments we have to functioning? Say for example, we have internal treatment and external treatment. Internal treatment means once you go into the boilers, specifically you have to do in the boilers. Say like various treatment technologies are available, but we have to avoid maximum internal treatment before getting into the boiler. Any water when you getting into the boiler, we have to do well in the external side itself. External means that is in the other part. That means before entering into the boiler, we have to take care of the feed water quality. That is external treatment. Once it is going to that, then we have to talk about this internal treatment also. Then again, one more topic what we have to see is that cooling tower performance. So cooling water also we are going to take. That may be the little bit of soft water that is required in the cooling water purposes. Cooling water purposes mainly the cooling water which goes inside the coolants area and it gets circulated. It sucks up whatever the heat, that is hot water, which is taken into the cooler, that is cooling tower. Then there is the delta T, we are observing 10 degrees centigrade. So that we are going to achieve. So these are all the things we have to keep in the mind. That is, we have to keep, remember, we have to keep in the mind for your excellency. Next. In general, water we are taking from any nearby resources. So like it is from the river or from the lake or from the reservoir, anywhere we are getting the water. The water what we are getting from the resources that we cannot be utilized as usual like in your operational process. So that you have to treat well. So water is classified, accordingly water is classified into two types. One is of the soft water and one is hard water. What is that soft water? Soft water means very simple, we can say. Once it gives the lather with the soap solution or you are feeling comfortable for your applications, the regular applications, that is soft water. In case of hard water, which does not produce lather with the soap solutions, it may precipitate, it may give precipitation or scum with the soap solution or US detergents, whatever. So that is called as a hard water. So what we are expecting, soft water, which is useful or which can be and no need to treatment, that we can use simultaneously without doing any further operations. Next. There is the various characteristics determining parameters which decides the water quality. The first important foremost quality is that hardness. The hardness is a characteristics which decides water is suitable for any industries or for our drinking purpose, potable purpose. This hardness is a quality which says about what is actually present in the water. Say like what are the calciums, what are the cations present in the water, anions present in the water. Say like cations means it is a calcium 2+, magnesium 2+, which is available in the water. In case of anions, it is chloride, sulfate, carbonate, bicarbonate, likewise it is available in the water. So characteristics, if you are looking, that is a hardness which is important role, particularly in the water chemistry. Next. Hardness, which is divided into two types. The first one is temporary hardness and another one is the permanent hardness. In case if you are looking the temporary hardness means is due to the presence of carbonates and bicarbonates of calcium and magnesium. But in case of other things, permanent hardness, it is due to the presence of chloride and sulfate of calcium and magnesium. In the case of temporary hardness, if water has a temporary hardness, the simple boiling which will remove the temporary hardness. Say like whatever the presence of the ions, when it is heated, that what material, bicarbonate material, which is converted into carbonate. The carbonate which is there's an undissolved form, which we will be able to remove easily or by the simple filtration process. In another way, we can do the treatment like adding lime. If you add lime into the water, into hard water, it gets some coagulation for these things, and your carbonate formation takes place. That also easily we can remove. And another case of permanent hardness. Permanent hardness we have to remove. It's strongly with the recommended process only. Say like various commercial processes available, a zeolite process, permutate process, ion exchange process, reverse osmosis process. Such a valuable, costliest process are available. By that only we are able to eliminate calcium, magnesium along with its anions of sulfate and chloride. Next slide. Okay, challenges. What are the challenges we are going to face in industries if we are using untreated water or without treatment, or particularly of the hard water if you are taking into the process, or if you are taking into the cooling tower or into the boiler? We have certain challenges in the regular day-to-day life also. In the regular day-to-day life, if you are looking, you are not going to get the proper lather. That is the problem. That means again water pollution takes place. And the second case, if you are taking into the industries, there is a paper industries. If you are looking, when they make the paper, there is a surface glossy form or it is a smooth form we will not get with the hot water. And another case of shading in the fabrics, textile industries. Shading, there is no proper shading. The proper shading, if there is no proper shading, means that also leads to unwanted patterns in the cloth structures. And moreover that in industries, if you are using hard water, what will take place is that it forms a scale. The scale which reduces the heating efficiency. Ultimately, the heat conversion process is reduced. It leads to the wastage of fuel. So many problems is associated with this hard water. That is, if you are not doing the treatment or if you are using the hard water. Boiler feed water. Why we talk about the boiler is that boiler is very important for any industries. If you go to any industries, there is a low pressure boiler or the high pressure boiler which is available. In case of low pressure boiler, if it is operating at less than 13 megapascal, which is called as low pressure boiler. More than 13 megapascal, it is called as high pressure boiler. Low pressure boiler, no problem, you can use soft water also, no problem, no issues. But in case of high pressure boilers, we need high quality water. Particularly, it should be free from any ions. Say like there is no presence of silica, even silica also. And your TDS, it should be less than 2 ppm. And conductivity, you are expecting a less than 5 microsiemens per centimeter. Such a quality of water is required. If you are not following such a qualities, the boiler may face a lot of problems. The first problem is that sludge and scale. Sludge and scale is a very, very important thing. And the next thing is that it is associated with the next problem is that boiler corrosion. Boiler corrosion, then apart from that boiler corrosion, there is of the caustic corrosion, caustic embrittlement, and lastly priming and foaming. These are all the major problems in any boilers if you use untreated or hot water. Feed water essential requirements. Once the feeding into the boiler, that is called as a feed water. The feed water, we are expecting certain qualities. It is free from any ions, first condition. The second condition is that it is free from any dissolved gases. And the third condition is that it should be free from turbidity. There is no turbidity. And the third condition, and the another most condition is the most important condition is that there is no non-scaling. There is non-scaling substance should not be there. And another one thing is that we have to use caustic alkali to remove caustic embrittlement. So such a conditions we have to follow in the case of feed water quality. The feed water quality can also be improved by adding ammonia into the media. So ammonia, what will take place means at a higher temperature it is evaporates with the steam. That is the main advantage. So if you maintain such a quality, your boiler is highly protected. Scale and sludge problems. What is scale? The scale, sludge, it's a brothers. The sludge it's like a soft form, it's a loosey form, it is like a precipitate form. You can see like it is precipitate, like a precipitate, the media is like a invisible manner, or media is like a turbid manner. If you see the boilers through the boiler viewable glass, it shows something like a precipitate nature. That is the sludge formation. Sludge formation is due to the reasons of magnesium chloride, magnesium carbonate, magnesium sulfate, and calcium chloride. Once, if you are not solving the issue of sludge, which leads to the formation of scale. At the high temperature, sludge is converted into scale. It is a strong layer which is coating in the inner wall of the boiler. So scale and sludge, it is like a brother. We have to solve these issues thoroughly before entering into the boiler sections. We know very well the result of the scale and sludge, which is giving a lot of problems. If you see the first problem is the wastage of fuel. Once there is a formation of sludge and scale, there is the wastage of fuel. You see the wastage of fuel, once your thickness, boiler's thickness is increasing like 0.325, 0.625 or 1.25 or 1.5 or 12. With respect to that 12 mm size thickness, which leads to the scale formation, which leads to a scale, wastage of fuel 150%. So you are going to lose a lot of fuel in this case. And the next thing is the decrease in efficiency. Efficiency means we have the walls, various walls and condensers in the boilers. Once these deposits which is getting into the boilers, which leads to the formation of something like wall choking that ultimately reduces the efficiency of the boilers. So your boiler efficiency reduces means it reduces the life of the boiler also. Third thing is that boiler explosion. Boiler explosion, we had many times about this. So boiler explosion means because of this water related problems, sometimes our monitoring device, that is an online monitoring device, which will not show the correct volume, correct presence of water level in the PCR, that is the control room. So what will take place is that suddenly if you take water into the boiler without knowing what is the quantity inside, at the high temperature, boiler may get busted or boiler may get explosion. So scaling which causes cracks, and ultimately it shows the improper reading in the monitoring device, which leads to the explosion of the boiler. Scale can be prevented by the various methods. Say it is in the very normal level, the scales can be removed by simple process or by adding suitable chemicals, say like dilute acid, EDTA. These are all the chemicals we can add to solve the simple issues. Once the issues are getting higher and higher level, we have to use a hammer or any removing technologies so as to remove any scale or sludge from the boilers. Next problem which is associated in the boiler is that boiler corrosion. Corrosion is an unwanted destructive phenomena. Corrosion which leads to the loss of national economy. If you see the national economy in any country, 30 to 40% which is going to replace the corroded material. Such a revenue we are losing in the industrial sectors because of this corrosion. Corrosion is due to the presence of not only ions because of the dissolved gases also. We can control the corrosion or dissolved gases by various methods. To control the gases, if you are looking, we can control with the help of mechanical deaeration or chemical scavenging method. Chemical scavenging method, you see the case of chemical scavenging. Sodium sulfate is a material which scavenges the oxygen which is converted into sodium sulfate, which can be removed by a boiler blowdown. In case of hydrogen, hydrogen is a powerful one, which is nowadays currently, this is only used in the industries. Hydrogen is a material which absorbs oxygen, which converts into the nitrogen and water. And nitrogen, which evaporates with the water stream, no problem. It is going to be mixed with the environment. It is no issues, no environmental problem. So we can use both the chemicals, and altogether we can use mechanical deaeration also. Mechanical deaeration means it is having the high temperature and it is having the perforated plates. Water is getting the sprinkled into the perforated plates. So whatever the dissolved gases, which is degasified by use of degasifying unit, which is removed, and ultimately we are able to get, there is a gases free water. The gases free water means, which shows there is no corrosion, because already we are having treated water. Caustic embrittlement, next issue. Caustic embrittlement means if you have the additional quantity of hydroxide ions by the addition of sodium hydroxide or from any other sources, hydroxide ion concentration increases means it shows caustic alkalinity. The caustic alkalinity is also one type of corrosion. If you are not controlling, that also leads to the boiler problems. How we can control this caustic embrittlement? By using sodium sulfate as softening agent instead of sodium carbonate. Most of the treatment technologies, they are following sodium carbonate. We have to avoid sodium carbonate. We can use sodium sulfate. And another thing is that adding the chemicals like tannin or the lignin to the boiler water, it prevents your caustic embrittlement. Third thing is that you have to adjust the pH between 8 to 9 by using ammonia. So that ammonia and hydrogen is mixed together, which is dosed into the line, feed water line. Then also we are able to see there is no caustic embrittlement. The next minor issue, which may be the important issue, that is the priming. Priming is otherwise is also called as wet steam. What is that? When the steam production takes place, some of the moisture which also goes with the steam. That means steam temperature reduces. Once the steam temperature reduces, you will not be getting the proper turbine output, which leads to that is the efficiency decrease in any industrial processes. The priming is mainly caused by the amount of dissolved salts or the steam velocity is in the higher side. And another case is that sudden boiling, improper boiler design, sudden increase in steam production rate, which all causes priming in the boilers. How we can avoid this? Having the proper fitting in the mechanical devices. Second thing is that controlling the velocity of steam. The steam velocity should be in the perfect form. There should not be any deviation in the velocity. And the third thing is that maintaining water quality, correct quantity of water level. There should be means there is a 70% of water quality means 70% of the water level which is to be maintained in the boiler. The next thing is that using treated water, and altogether there is a good boiler design. So boiler designs, which is very important in case of priming. In the case of foaming is it takes place in the surface of the water layer. The foaming is which is caused by the presence of air ingression, or is due to the presence of grease, or it is due to the presence of oil material. If one small quantity, one drop, if it is present in the boiled water, which makes a lot of foamings. The foaming which leads to the reduction of the steam production, which can be controlled by adding some anti-foaming agents. So like castor oil we can add, that is anti-foaming agents. And another thing is that we can add coagulating agents, sodium aluminate, ferrous sulfate, which all removes foaming agents. So it ensures that there is no foaming formation. Water treatment, it's entire flow diagram. What we are looking in this is that raw water which is obtained from the river or reservoir or any pond, that raw water without treatment, the water is taken into the clariflocculator. Before taking into the clariflocculator, the design of raw water storage tank is very important. Raw water storage tank, it should be like a little bit of U-shaped tank. So what we are expecting in that U-shape, there is the sludge normally present in the water that will settle down because of the gravity. That overflow water which is taken into the clariflocculator. The clariflocculator is also called as Stirling chamber. The clariflocculator, we are going to add some flocculating agents. And after the clariflocculation process is over, the water is taken into the storage tank. In the storage tank, it is stored for a day. After the day, it will be pumped into the gravity filter. The gravity filter, there is of the two gravity filters are there. It's a horizontal sand filter or the vertical sand filter or the activated carbon filter likewise is available. The gravity filtration which filters whatever the suspended material or the floating material. Then the water which is going into the storage tank. In the storage tank which may be supplied into the drinking water purpose or it is going into the cooling water process. And altogether, the part of the water which is taken into the DM plant, demineralization plant. And demineralization plant after the treatment which is going to the boiler makeup. The boiler makeup, we told you is that boiler feed water. This is nothing but feed water. And the another case of storage tank, which is going into the softening plant. Softening plant, there is a small difference between DM plant and softening plant. Softening plant which removes only the cations. DM plant removes both cations and anions. Softening plant which is going to the cooling water makeup. The cooling water makeup, we are ensuring that there is no cations. There is a presence of anions. The anions will not disturb much in the water technology. This is a specific clariflocculator purpose. In the clariflocculator, what is going on is that clariflocculator is a tank, is a flash mixture tank. We are going to add chlorine, alum, lime, everything we are dosing into this clariflocculation tank. It is a clariflocculator which is going to operate 360 degree, which is going to rotate 360 degree, which is going to take all your material mixed together. There is a formation of flakes. The flakes will be settled down in the bottom of this clariflocculator, which is removed via the bottom area. And this overflow water which is entering into the next device of storage tank, that is a clarified water storage tank. So what we are expecting the water quality, water chemistry in this is that, say like turbidity, if the inlet water turbidity is more than 20 nephelometric turbidity unit, which is reduced into less than 20 NTU, and pH also maintained in between 5.5 to 8. Residual chlorine we are expecting 0.2 ppm. So residual chlorine is very important to control the bacterial contaminations. So altogether sludge, whatever the sludge we are collecting from the bottom of this is taken into the activated sludge process. The part of the sludge again taken back into the clariflocculator. This is a typical diagram of gravity sand filter. Clarified water from the clariflocculator. This water entering into the sand filter. The sand filter may be the horizontal sand filter or vertical sand filter. It is having the 5 layers. The first layer, this is the first layer, second layer, third layer, fourth layer, the fine layer of fifth layer. Water is entering into the top of this. In the bottom, we are collecting outlet water. The first layer we are expecting is a higher size bubbles, then smaller size, then fine size, then smaller size, fine size sand. So once the unit is getting choked, it should be backwash. For backwashing of this gravity sand filter, water is passed through filter in reverse direction. Say like in the reverse direction, if you pass, then whatever the accumulated sludges or suspended material which is removed via this outline pipeline. This is a typical diagram of demineralization water treatment plant. We have the treated water, the partially treated water, that is clariflocculated water, clarified water. The clarified water which is taken into the process of activated carbon filter. This filter which is filled with the activated carbon. Next level, this water after treatment, this water outlet water which is entering into the weak acid cation. The weak acid cation ensures that there is the removal of certain cations. Then whatever the escape amount or whichever is not able to control in this weak acid cations, that is taken into the strong acid cation bed. Strong acid cation bed which removes all the cations which is present in the water. Then this water outlet water which goes into the degasification unit. Degasification unit is a tall tower. There is the perforated plates which removes the gases, dissolved gases like carbon dioxide, oxygen present in the water. This water with the help of motor which is taken into the weak base anion. The weak base anion removes anions present in the water. Again anion free water, whatever the escape water anions, that will be arrested in this strong base anions. So completely now we are expecting there is no cations and anions. If there is some chances of anions or cations may be there, that is taken care in the unit of mixed bed. In the mixed bed, whatever the escape quantity, that is arrested in this. Then this outlet water which is entering into the DM water storage tank. Now we are expecting the water quality is of higher quality. It is the finely polished water, or we can say high purity, ultra pure water. Okay, boiler. You see the boiler, that's very important. I told you in many times I represented. So boiler, if you are doing the proper treatment, it will be in the danger condition. But still we have the time. We can take care of the boilers. The first thing is that this is a boiler. External conditioning. The external conditioning I told you in general, many methods are there. Activated carbon filter, everything is there. So one of the technique is this, reverse osmosis. Reverse osmosis is mainly used in where there is a saline water is only the source, salt water, what we are expecting in the salt water. More than 20,000 TDS, 20,000 ppm of TDS, if it is present, that is of the saline water. There is a high percentage of, high level of ppm of sodium is there. In such a situation, reverse osmosis is used. Reverse osmosis is a simple process, but we have to take care of much about this. Say like water, this is a semi-permeable membrane. Through the semi-permeable membrane, saline water is entering into this membrane. We are getting the pure water by operating with some external pressure forces. This external pressure, when we give this saline water which escapes past into the pure water media, that is called as direction of reverse osmosis. If you see the reverse direction, this is the direction of osmosis. So reverse osmosis is a wonderful process which is used in water shortage areas. Certain membranes we are using in this reverse osmosis, that is cellulose acetate, cellulose butyrate, polysulfone, polyamides. So these are all some special types of membranes which is used in the reverse osmosis process. This reverse osmosis process is having various advantages. The first advantage, if you are looking, it eliminates sodium. But in case of if you are looking other processes, including the demineralization plant, there is no removal of sodiums. But if you are looking this case, sodium is eliminated, that is very important. And the second important is that it removes lead, lower energy cost, comparatively lower energy cost, takes up very little space, easy maintenance, it gives better water quality. These are all best opportunities we are getting from the best options we are getting from this reverse osmosis. That's why we are getting in this everywhere reverse osmosis. This is a typical diagram of demineralization plant. Demineralization plant, see there is two columns are there. The first column is filled with strong acid cation. The second column is filled with strong base anion. In the strong acid cation columns, it takes care of all your cations, calcium, magnesium. Anion column, it takes care of your chloride, sulfate, carbonate, bicarbonate. What you are getting ultimate, there is a pure water, deionized water. Once the units gets exhausted, it should be regenerated. Strong acid cation is regenerated with the help of strong acids, say like HCl, sulfuric acid likewise. Strong base anion unit which is exhausted means we have to regenerate with the help of base sodium hydroxide. So regeneration we can do in this process. So this is again and again we can use, but this is having some challenges. The challenge is that this also gives some wastewater, that's to be taken care well. The first column, calcium is removed. we are getting the H plus, few H plus. Magnesium is removed, we are getting few H plus. If there is a presence of sodium, we are getting H plus. In the second column of strong base anions, we are able to get all OH minus ions. H plus and OH minus ion mixed together, it forms pure water. A regeneration can be performed with HCl for strong acid cations. So whatever the calcium, which is removed as calcium chloride, magnesium chloride, sodium chloride, we are getting RH, that is regenerated. Similarly, anionic bed, that is also regenerated, or OH. So we are able to regenerate again and again. We are able to use this unit again and again. It's having advantages, lots of advantages are there. It is able to produce TDS less than 2 ppm, and water of whatever the quality, highly acidic media or alkaline media, that we can do very well in this process. Disadvantage comparatively other methods compared to the earlier method. This method is having certain disadvantages, say like it is a costly process, expensive chemicals are used, and highly turbid water cannot be softened. Turbidity we have to take care. If there is more than 10 NTU, if it is entering into this unit, it will choke the unit completely. This is another solution for this boiler problems. External treatment, I talk about external treatment. This is of internal treatment. Internal treatment, there is of the various treatment technologies are available. One of the treatment technologies is carbonate conditioning. Carbonate conditioning, see, there is a sodium carbonate is used, calcium sulfate in the water, which is converted into calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate, it is like an insoluble material which can be removed by boiler blowdown. So main advantage in this carbonate condition is that it is used in the low pressure boilers. Phosphate conditioning, it is mainly used in high pressure boilers, which is able to produce the huge quantity of the huge tons of steam. In high pressure boiler, it is mainly treated with the help of phosphate. Phosphate is of the 3 phosphates: monosodium phosphate, disodium phosphate, and trisodium phosphate. Monosodium phosphate, it is in the acidic media, it is used for highly alkaline water. The disodium phosphate, which is of weakly alkaline, which takes care of. And another case of trisodium phosphate, it is mainly used for too acidic water. So phosphate conditioning is currently used in most of the industries. We have to see the things. Calgon conditioning, that is the third one, is the Calgon conditioning. Calgon is nothing but it's a sodium hexametaphosphate. Sodium hexametaphosphate, it takes care of whatever the calcium sulfate, whatever left out quantity of the external treatment. This unit will take care of these things. So this is converted into the again insoluble material that is also removed by a boiler blowdown. The another one operation is that colloidal conditioning. We are able to add some colloidal conditioning agents that will make some colloidal formation inside the boilers. By the boiler blowdown operations, we are able to remove that also from the boilers. So ultimately, our boiler is free from the problems of sludge, scale, caustic embrittlement, corrosion, priming, and foaming. So in this session, we elaborately discuss about what is water, what is its importance, why we should take care of the water, what is the water chemistry involving in this treatment, why we should do the treatment, how to save our boilers, how to save our nation economy. All these things we discuss in this session. This session might be very useful for you. I hope you enjoy the session. Thank you very much.